It has been 15 years since the release of Fallout New Vegas. Now widely considered to be one of the best Fallout games amongst fans of the series, does New Vegas hold up to the gameplay bugs and history of a challenging development to present one of the best stories told in the Fallout franchise? Today we will look back at the history of Fallout New Vegas, the numbers and statistics of how well it performed among critics and audiences, how much it costs and how long it takes to beat, as well as my personal opinion to see if it is still worth your time 15 years later. Fallout New Vegas, the second game released in the modern Fallout franchise. Developed by Obsidian Entertainment and published by Bethesda Softworks, the game brings the series back to the original setting of Fallout in the West Coast, entering a new area in the Mojave Wasteland, New Vegas. After being shot in the head and left for dead, the player character, the Courier, miraculously survives and begins to hunt down the person who did it, finding themselves forced to decide the fate of the Mojave. Obsidian Entertainment is an American video game developer in California and is now a part of the Xbox Game Studios. Ex-Black Isle employees Fergus Yearhart, Chris Avalon, Chris Parker, Darren Mohan, and Chris Jones originally founded Obsidian in June 2003. Christopher Weaver founded Bethesda Softworks, an American video game publisher in Maryland, in 1986 as a division of Media Technology Limited. In 1999, Bethesda became a subsidiary of ZeniMax Media and developed and published their own titles for the next 15 years. In 2001, Bethesda Softworks spun off their development team into the Bethesda Game Studios to focus on publishing. Bethesda has seen success in recent years as Microsoft acquired their parent company ZeniMax in March 2021, and Bethesda became part of the Microsoft gaming division. Fallout New Vegas' creation dates back to Fallout Van Buren, which was originally intended to be Fallout 3. Black Isle Studio, the original owners of the Fallout series, intended to set the game in Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, and Utah. The game would mirror the original Fallout series, including the turn-based combat for which they were known. However, because of their publisher, Interplay Entertainment, and the financial struggles that they were encountering, the game was canceled in December 2003. Around this time, many veterans at Black Isle Studios and Interplay Entertainment left to found Obsidian Entertainment. Obsidian went on to develop several well-known games, such as Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, Neverwinter Nights 2, and Alpha Protocol. After Bethesda Softworks bought Fallout's intellectual property rights in 2007, they created and released Fallout 3, which was well received in 2008. While Bethesda began to develop Elder Scrolls V, otherwise known as Skyrim, they decided they wished to create a large expansion pack for the game on top of their already planned downloadable content. Todd Howard, the creative director of Bethesda, lobbied the company's leadership to instead create another full game rather than just an expansion. They suggested hiring Obsidian to make it based on the team's previous role in the original series. Obsidian had been in discussions with Bethesda in 2007 to develop a Star Trek game, but that fell through, and they went on to accept the deal to create the Fallout game. After discussions between the teams, Bethesda recommended setting the spinoff in the original West Coast setting, since their game covered the East Coast stories. Obsidian agreed, and they believed they could better explore topics from Fallout 2 and the spinoff by setting it on the West Coast. The game went through a lot of initial development, with story ideas being released, placing the game in places such as Reno, and allowing the player more freedom over who they play as, such as allowing them to be a ghoul or super mutant. These were later rejected because of gameplay limitations, and they settled on the location of the game being Las Vegas and the surrounding desert. Obsidian and Bethesda initially disagreed on the setting, with Obsidian wanting to set it between the original and Bethesda's reboot, while Bethesda wanted all the games to be in chronological order from release. Josh Sawyer wanted to focus on the idea of greed, with one of the possible titles thrown around being Fallout Sin City. When focusing on historical references, Josh Sawyer decided the cutoff point was going to be the 1963 assassination of President John Kennedy. Listening to fan feedback, they also made conflict between multiple factions be one of the central motifs, basing the game's overall plot around that. During a game developers conference, Josh Sawyer spoke about how the intention of crafting these multiple factions was to encourage a moral gray, and make none of the factions objectively evil, but each having strengths and flaws that would encourage players to struggle with who to support. Focusing heavily on properly recreating the Mojave Desert, the team used a lot of data from the United States Geological Survey to craft the world. They also traveled to Las Vegas and took many photos themselves of the area, such as the Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area. Bethesda requested that the world include visual landmarks to help players orient themselves, similar to Fallout 3. To accomplish this, Obsidian elected to use the Las Vegas Beltway as a reference, and made many of the visual landmarks be tourist attractions in the area, such as the large dinosaur attraction, based on the Cabazon dinosaurs in California. Obsidian wanted to separate themselves from Fallout 3 by making the world more open and spread out, rather than the close-knit world that Fallout 3 was. They also wanted to focus on a warmer color palette, rather than the several shades of green and gray that Fallout 3 had. They also sought to bring in the style and flashiness of Vegas by using a lot of neon on the Vegas Strip. Besides the changes that Obsidian made for art direction, they didn't change too much when it came to gameplay. Obsidian focused on minor adjustments for quality of life and those that made the game more tactical, such as changes to player movement and gun accuracy. They also were in discussions to add item crafting and a hardcore mode to make players struggle with survival if they were to so choose to. They also looked to the Fallout 3 modding community to improve the gameplay, and even went as far to work with modders who had experience with Bethesda's Gamebryo engine, which Bethesda wanted Obsidian to use. Ion Zur composed the game's soundtrack. The team described the game to him as set in the American Southwest and asked him to incorporate many ideas such as open, spacious, raw, lonesome, cowboy, rattlesnake, desert, wind, heat, rust, steel, dirt, and grit. Ion Zur found inspiration in There Will Be Blood and decided to incorporate string quartets into much of the music. He collaborated with audio director Scott Laylor to compose the score. Similar to Fallout 3, many licensed music from the 1950s were added to the game to listen to on the Pip-Boy. The writers for the game broke a Guinness World Record when they wrote over 65,000 lines of dialogue for most lines of dialogue in a single-player role-playing game. Several well-known celebrities gave their voices to the game, such as Matthew Perry, Wayne Newton, Zachary Levi, Chris Christopherson, Danny Trejo, Michael Dorn, and Felicia Day. Unfortunately, Bethesda kneecapped Obsidian hard with a strict 18-month time limit to develop the game. Sawyer stated the team was working 40 to 50 hours a week, but was confident that they were going to be able to make the go. Several parts of the game, including more plots, quests, and locations for Caesar's Legion, were cut due to the strict time limit, which prevented them from fleshing out the faction. Obsidian Entertainment officially announced Fallout New Vegas in April 2009, and the first trailer debuted in February 2010. Different retailers offered different pre-order bonuses, which included things such as additional weapons or items at the beginning of the game. The Collector's Edition was also available for pre-order, which included the game, 7 poker chips, a replica of the Platinum chip, a deck of cards with illustrations of the characters, a graphic novel, and a documentary of the making of Fallout New Vegas. Fallout New Vegas saw more pre-orders than Fallout 3. New Vegas officially released on October 19th, 2010. Less than a month later, on November 8th, the game had sold over 5 million copies worldwide across all platforms and achieved $300 million in revenue. Estimates by Electronic Entertainment Design and Research places the sales at 11.6 million copies worldwide across all systems by 2015. However, the game received heavy criticism for its numerous bugs on release, such as crashes, save game corruption, frame rate issues, and other technical glitches. Bethesda released numerous patches to fix the game over the next several months, but many of these persist in the game to this day. Similar to their previous games, the development team for the game did not properly assess the game and clear out the technical issues that it had. Obsidian took the buggy release of Fallout New Vegas as a learning experience and made improvements with their tracking system for bugs. Later games by Obsidian did show that they learned from New Vegas, as the launch of Dungeon Siege 3 was far less buggy and enjoyed its stable launch, as well as being the first game by Obsidian to use their new Onyx engine. Prior to release, Bethesda offered Obsidian a bonus if any version of the game received an 85 out of 100 or higher on Metacritic. While the game received favorable reviews, they only got an average of 84 out of 100 for Windows and Xbox 360, and an 82 out of 100 for the PlayStation 3 version. Because of this, Bethesda did not pay out the bonus, and while it was disappointing for the team, the CEO of Obsidian, Fergus Urquhart, stated that they were not upset, nor did they find it an unfair decision, as it was in their contract and they simply did not meet the goal. However, many people still criticize Bethesda for this choice, as many journalists see Metacritic as an unfair way to just aggregate scoring on the game or measure its quality, and many fans see it as a very petty way to punish Obsidian when they essentially met the goal. Many of the critics reviewing Fallout New Vegas praised the story and world of New Vegas. They saw the consequences and changes that occurred with factions adapting to player actions. Many people saw the final battle as particularly spectacular by making it heavily dependent on player action. However, others criticized Obsidian for not including as many memorable story moments as Fallout 3 included, and stated that there weren't enough scripted moments to match their highs with Fallout 3. However, critics especially praised the side quests, finding them superior to the main story in many ways. Reviewers also found the map helpful and noted positively many of Obsidian's efforts to make it easily traversable and naturally guiding to players. However, others once again said the game felt like an expansion to Fallout 3 rather than its own game because of the lack of strong gameplay changes between it and Fallout 3. Many of them stated it felt like the team didn't use the time they had to make it fresh and didn't make enough tech advancements. However, the additions Obsidian made, such as faction reputation and a hardcore mode, didn't get the love they expected, with many reviewers seeing them as unneeded complexity rather than fun additions. The companions available in the game were also divisive, with some seeing them as a welcome addition that added a lot to the player's investment into the story, and others seeing them as nothing more than frustrating. Fallout New Vegas was nominated for many awards. New Vegas was nominated for Role-Playing Game of the Year at DICE 14th Annual Award Show, though Mass Effect 2 ultimately won. New Vegas was nominated for Best RPG at the 2010 Spike Video Game Awards, but Mass Effect 2 took home the award. It was also nominated for Best PC Game, but lost to StarCraft II: Wings of Liberty. During the 11th Annual Game Developers' Choice Awards, New Vegas was nominated for Best Narrative, but lost to Mass Effect 2. During the 7th British Academy Game Awards, New Vegas was nominated for the Best Narrative, but lost to Heavy Rain. It was also nominated for Best Strategy and Simulation Game, but lost to Civilization V. Fallout New Vegas received a nomination for Outstanding Writing in a Drama from the National Academy of Video Game Trade Reviewers in 2010, however, Red Dead Redemption won. It was also nominated for Outstanding Franchise Role-Playing Game, but lost to Mass Effect 2. Felicia Day received a nomination for Best Voice Actress at the 2010 Spike Video Game Awards for her performance as Veronica in Fallout New Vegas. However, Trisla Helfer won for her role in StarCraft II: Wings of Liberty. She was also nominated for Outstanding Supporting Performance in a Drama during the National Academy of Video Game Trade Reviewers in 2010, but lost to Rip Torn in God of War 3. And during the 2011 Spike Video Game Awards, the DLC Old World Blues was nominated for Best DLC. IGN's 2010 Most Bang for Your Buck Award went to Fallout New Vegas. And Fallout New Vegas won the Golden Joystick Awards 2011 RPG of the Year. Public perception of the game has changed significantly over time. After the several patches that fixed the bugs and glitches that plagued the game, players grew on the game and the story that it told. Many fans argue about whether Fallout New Vegas is the best game in the series, and many beg Bethesda to bring back Obsidian to create another spin-off in the universe. The numerous DLCs that the game received, along with extensive modding by the community, has allowed for Fallout New Vegas to have long-term survivability in the Fallout culture. Many mods, such as Tale of Two Wastelands, which combines Fallout 3 and New Vegas into one game, or Fallout New California, which serves as a fan-made prequel, are seen as some of the best mods the modders have to offer. However, modders have also created more controversial mods, such as Fallout the Frontier. However, the love by the fans for New Vegas hasn't always contributed to the game's success. There is a section of the fan base that puts down any new Fallout title by comparing it to New Vegas, and even having situations such as lore presented in the Fallout TV show seemingly contradict the game, which levied hate towards Bethesda and accusations of the studio's disdain for the game. However, Bethesda's director, Todd Howard, has stated that Bethesda values and respects New Vegas despite the accusations. Even so, despite the negativity, the game inspires a very faithful community. Many people even meet up every year for a Fallout event in Good Springs, Nevada, the real-life town which is reflected in the game as the starting location for the main character. Fallout New Vegas also received 6 DLC packs. Gameplay designer Chris Avellone was the lead on many of these, and he wished to expand the gameplay ideas of the main game in new, innovative ways. The first DLC, Dead Money, was one of these where Avellone wished to incorporate survival horror into the game. In this DLC, you take part in a suspenseful, post-apocalyptic casino heist in which you will need to work with 3 companions, each of whom have their own motivations for helping you. This DLC adds hours of new content and enemies, where you fight constantly regenerating ghost people and new traps. The DLC added new perks, achievements, and even raised the level cap to 35. Sitting at $4.99, this DLC sits at a mixed rating on Steam, with many people saying it is fun for one run, but many arguing that it is only worth one run, as it is painfully torturous as an experience and far more difficult than it needs to be. Honest Hearts, this second DLC, takes place in Zion National Park, focusing on tribal conflicts. The new map and enemies introduced to add to the new outdoor space of Utah. This DLC also introduces several new perks and weapons, as well as a story and characters widely considered to be among the best in Fallout New Vegas, such as Joshua Graham. Priced at $4.99, this DLC sits at a very positive rating, with many praising the characters, but also making the point that people need this DLC to make many other mods for the game more compatible. According to Steam, this is the highest selling DLC for Fallout New Vegas. The third DLC, Old World Blues, focused on bringing the ideas of B-movie horror and science gone wrong. Trapped in the Big MT, the player must interact with the Think Tank in their monstrous experiments throughout their labs. Several new enemies, perks, and weapons introduce interesting challenges to this DLC. Priced at $4.99, this DLC is rated as very positive on Steam, with many saying the gameplay additions are great, but the new characters and dialogue trends towards cringy. The final story DLC, Lonesome Road, tasks players with tracking down and fighting Ulysses, another courier of the Wasteland, who has a personal grudge against the player. This DLC, alluded to through all of the other previous DLCs, introduces a new deadly area with difficult enemies, new overpowered weapons, new perks and recipes, and even a level cap increase. Priced at $4.99, this DLC sits at very positive on Steam, with many people praising the challenge, the added world building, and Edie as a companion. However, many people, including myself, see the forced plot and overwhelmingly repeated dialogue of bear, bull, very annoying. The developers introduced two smaller DLC packs, the Courier Stash, which adds the pre-order weapons into the main game for everyone to access, and the Gunrunner's Arsenal, which adds new weapons, mods, and ammo into the game. Courier Stash is priced at $1 and has a very positive rating on Steam, while the Gunrunner's Arsenal is priced at $1.99 and sits at overwhelmingly positive. There doesn't appear to have been any latest updates since the release of Fallout New Vegas per the Steam update history page. However, several bug fixes were later pushed out near launch, but many bugs remained unfixed in the current state of the game. According to Gamealytic, on Steam alone, Fallout New Vegas has sold over 9 million copies and brought in $44.5 million. Fallout New Vegas has seen major praise as Metacritic puts it at an 84 rating from critics and 8.6 rating from users. On Steam, it sees a 96% overwhelmingly positive rating with over 160,000 reviews. Many people praise the game as one of the greatest role-playing games ever made, but most of the negative reviews talk about how the game crashes constantly and is the greatest issue with running the game these days. The game's peak concurrent player count peaked at 51,000 during its release in October 2010. At this time, with the release of the Season 2 of the Fallout TV show set in New Vegas, the average concurrent player count is in the 20,000s range. But before that, it was sitting between 5,000 and 9,000 players on average. According to How Long to Beat, the main story should take about 27 hours to complete. Main story and extras will take about 60, and if you're going for the 100% completion, then you're looking at 131 hours. The current price of New Vegas is only $9.99, and you can snag all of the DLC and base game for $19.99. The lowest price that the game has ever gone on sale for is $2.49, a 75% reduction of the base price. Though, the average sale price is $4.99, a 50% reduction. New Vegas has a strong number of players that start it, with 92.4% of players getting the first achievement, Ain't That a Kick in the Head. This only requires the player to make their character and speak with Doc Mitchell at the front door to start the game. The game has multiple achievements for finishing it, and there is no all-rounder achievement for just finishing, so the overall completion rate is likely higher, but at least 11.7% of players have finished the game by going through the Yes Man route and completing the quest No Gods, No Masters, and getting the same named achievement. The rarest achievement of the game is Pros Only at 1.9%, which requires players to complete any 3 Gunrunner's Arsenal's 3-star challenges. These can be very difficult, but can also be farmable and is unmissable if you're willing to put in the extra work to get them. My personal rarest achievement is Safety Deposit Box at 7.2%. This requires you to trap Father Elijah in the Sierra Madre vault during the DLC Dead Money. This can be difficult to achieve, but there are many guides online to do so, and is only one of the few ways to finish the DLC. Overall, I completed around 64% of the achievements for Fallout New Vegas. Fallout New Vegas has basic system requirements, only requiring a dual-core 2.0 GHz processor, 2 GB of RAM, 10 GB of free storage, and an NVIDIA GeForce 6 Series or ATI 1300 XT series video card. For my personal opinion, I see Fallout New Vegas as one of the best that the Fallout series has to offer. I feel that Obsidian knocked it out of the park with the main game. I feel the DLCs have a very hit or miss quality to it, with some such as Old World Blues and Honest Hearts being standouts, while Dead Bunny and Lonesome Road are more frustrating than fun, with Lonesome Road being one of the worst experiences I've ever had with a Fallout game. Fallout New Vegas also has a lot of bugs and glitches still in the game, and you should expect the game to crash often when you play. While the game has gotten a cult following, and many people laugh off the crashes that you will experience in the game, it is not something I believe many people will put up with. While you can mod the game and fix it yourself, not everyone can do this, making the game still frustrating and broken for a good number of people. Because of this, I can still absolutely recommend Fallout New Vegas, but I will say that the bugs and crashes impact the overall experience. I would say that the game is worth it at price, giving it an overall 4 out of 5 stars. And if you can fix the crashes, it is generally one of the best Fallout experiences you can have. I recommend a buy. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. It really does mean the world to me. If you believe that anything I have provided today is helpful, then consider subscribing and liking the video. If you believe I have missed anything or have your own opinions around Fallout New Vegas, then please jump into the comments and let me know. Is Fallout New Vegas worth getting into 15 years later? After looking at the history of the game, the numbers, and my personal opinion, I believe that is up for you to decide. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and may luck be on your side.